I'm Jackie Flavin, Customer Insights Leader with Demco, and this is Open Book, our weekly conversation series with industry experts about how they're navigating COVID-19 challenges. Today, I'm joined by Laura Brown, Media Specialist with Wheaton High School. Wheaton High School, good morning.
I'm so glad to be here.
Oh,
I'm so glad.
We're so lucky to have you here. Just a little background on Wheaton High School. Wheaton High School is a highly rated public school in Silver Spring, Maryland, which is about 12 miles north of DC.
Yes.
The school is known for its great teachers, wonderful facilities, and academic programs. You've got about 2,000 students there, and they come from 43 countries, right?
Yes.
That's amazing. And I saw on niche.com that Wheaton was rated the #1 standout high school in Maryland.
Well, we work very hard and we have very dedicated teachers that work with our students and our community very closely.
Awesome. And just being so close to DC, I mean, I'm wondering if you have such great representation of countries because of all the international people that come to DC, you know, ambassadors and all kinds of different things like that.
I definitely think we do. And DC, Northern Virginia, we call this area the DMV because we all are really connected at the hip, because literally DC is right down the street. And every time I try to go to the Kennedy Center, I accidentally wind up in Virginia. I always miss a turn. Not that I've gone to the Kennedy Center lately, but we do have students from all over the world here at Wheaton and in many of our schools here in Montgomery County.
That's so cool. And how long have you been at Wheaton High School?
This is my 14th year at Wheaton, 13th or 14th. After 10, it kind of, you know, because I've been in Montgomery County for 20. This is my 22nd year in Montgomery County. And this is about my 13th or 14th year here at Wheaton. So I've been here a long time.
Awesome. That's so great. And I can tell that you are a beloved media specialist at your school. So, and we've chatted before, and I just have always loved how much your heart is in your work. And so I'm so glad that we can chat today and really talk just about how things are going this school year. So the school year has been going for a few months now. How would you say things are going overall?
So we decided to go virtually, or Montgomery County did, and it's been a steep climb. We as teachers, and we did have a number of technology options that were open to us, but with the decision to go virtually, some decisions were made. So we had about a week to do, not a 180, but a lot of training that we had to learn how to do to make it systematic. So before COVID, we had some wiggle room and some flexibility in which technology platforms we were using as teachers. And the kids and the students, because we met every day, we were able to handle that. But once the decision was made, we were going to go virtually, the school system decided to use one platform. So we had to really work hard to learn that platform. And within that platform, there's different levels and layers of technology. So just wrapping our mind around that and learning all those different platforms and how they talk to each other, how they don't talk to each other was difficult. And I think the first grading period, there were some glitches. And so that made it, teachers were very stressful about that because we're used to something that's very systematic and this is very fluid. So, but we're adjusting and we're doing everything we can do to engage our students every day.
And teenagers especially, I feel like, what group of people isn't struggling a little bit, at least with the pandemic, but teenagers, not being able to come to school, it's got to be just so emotionally challenging.
I work with all of the students, but because of COVID, I also have homeroom for the first time, and I'm working with 9th graders. And I do see a huge difference because when the 9th graders are here, I always know who they are. They're always kind of looking around. They come in. They come in the week before school starts. They go on a tour with our junior, senior ambassadors. They come in. We present ourselves. We let them know that they're welcome, and they kind of, some of them, they just have a certain energy.
Yeah.
And doing it online, that energy level, that excitement has been replaced with apprehension,
Mm.
fear, uncertainty. And it's heartbreaking because one little girl said to me, Miss Brown, I'm petrified. And I've never heard a freshman. I mean, even when a freshman comes on, I was a freshman, I was scared, but I've never heard a person who is a ninth grader say, I'm petrified.
Oh.
And it's, your heart just, I contacted her counselor to make sure she had support, and she seems to be doing better now. But it's a totally different experience. And so we're very concerned about our junior and our seniors as well, because all those things that you look forward to being a senior, it's just gone. And I felt bad for our seniors last year. I didn't get to say goodbye to kids that I've been working with for 4 years. So that just felt so incomplete. So it's still a transition, and it's one we will continue to make.
Mm. Yeah. And I wonder too, like I'm in Minneapolis and I always think of like people in DC, like is the level of stress might just feel higher because you're so close to so much, you know, like just, our capital. And so I wonder if people just feel it, everything just a little bit more intensely too in DC because.
I would say it would probably fall upon our parents who were working. We have a lot of parents who work in DC because we're so close. So if they have experienced job loss, I know here at Wheaton, we support our families, and our families, depending on the situation, may be struggling, but that's true in many of our schools across the country. And I have to say that we as teachers have, when this first hit, we were delivering things to our students' homes, just like across the country. So being close to DC, I think it adds a layer of stress because DC, it's up and down. We have people who are in the city, who are people who are out the city. Of course, all the protesting,
Yeah.
Which it's just been very stressful because you don't know if it spreads COVID, because our community has been hit really hard with COVID because we are a densely populated section of Montgomery County. And so that's also scary when you have people coming in. Well, that's true in Minneapolis as well. People coming in and out of your region who may or may not be infected. And we want everyone to be safe, whether they're a Maryland resident or not. So yes, I do think there is a heightened sense of stress.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, how do you think your students are managing all the stress? Like, do you think they're coping well, all things considering, or what kind of tools do they have? And I mean, just I'm trying to think of what stressed me out as a teenager, and it's just nothing compared to what these kids have,
Well, I think the number one thing that stresses our students is the isolation of education. As you stated so eloquently, teenagers are social people. And before COVID, kids were in the library. We didn't really put a limit. When we ran out of seats, they were sitting on the floors, hanging over just being kids, talking, laughing, enjoying the resources, and being together. So all of that has been stripped away. And the platforms that we have are their Chromebooks. And one of the things I've noticed is that they have a hard time turning on their cameras, turning on their mics, to find out that because it's so densely populated here, a lot of times the kids don't do that because it interferes with their connectivity. So if they turn on their video, it freezes them out. So, and then depending on what they're doing at home, many are taking care of younger siblings because their parents have changed what they're doing to adjust to this new economic reality we're facing. So not everyone has that quiet space and private space to be online. And so we're working really hard with interactive technology. We have 2 check-ins a week. That's what I do as homeroom to make sure they're okay. They have access to our emails. I have a Google Voice account so they can text or call me to make sure if they're okay. And we just create a team of trusted adults to provide that support to our students. And they're not responding as if they were here in school at all. It's a very different phenomenon. And so we're doing everything we can. And I think one thing that creates another stress level, at least right now, our school system is trying to decide whether we go back. And they were conducting a survey, and the governor just came out this week, and just like in New York and other, so that layer of stress, what do we go back? What is it going to look like? Who's going to come back? All that adds to the stress level to everyone, and no one has an answer because this is a situation that keeps changing, and that stress definitely hits the kids because kids usually have, I mean, I'm so used to working with teenagers and never sitting down and high energy. Yeah. And that's just not the way the kids are responding at all. I think they're kind of just watching and just in shock of what they see every day.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I was a teenager, I was like, I don't really know a lot, but I know that the adults in my life know a lot. And so like when you see the adults struggling with uncertainty and all that, then it's got to be just another layer of, anxiety for the kids. But I'm glad that they have you. I mean, you're such a wonderful, ray of sunshine in their life. And I'm sure, having educators like you, checking on them is making all the difference.
It certainly is. And one of the things that we do also is our staff development teacher has weekly check-ins with us as staff.
Oh, good.
And that helps because when you're with your fellow staff, if you notice a problem or ask a question, there's always someone who has that same question and has an answer. So I went to one of those meetings yesterday because I was kind of struggling with how do I interact with the kids and how do I increase engagement. And I just definitely heard some great ideas and definitely would implement those. Earlier this week, I presented to the PT, our Parent Teacher Association. It was really great to see our parents and interact with them, and they know exactly what we're providing as far as library services, online services. Got really great response. So trying to make all those connections on all sides to make sure your teachers are okay, your parents are informed, and to make that web of support for our students. And it's so critical and so important. So having those connections and sharing resources and support and communication is essential.
Yeah. And that's so good that you have a layer of support behind you too.
Yes, I think it's important for all educators because, for example, I was on Zoom the other day with my kids and I couldn't find the chat. And I'm like, it was just, I had to hold myself together because sometimes my technology just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the great thing is one of the young ladies unmuted herself. It's okay, Miss Brown. This happens to me all the time.
Oh.
So I had to email all the students and make sure they were all set up for our next time together. And I apologize, but for whatever reason, it's just the technology. And then when I talk with my teacher, they're like, oh yeah, that happened to me too. It's so random, and when you're in a building and you have a problem, you just walk or call and there's someone immediately available. But when you're at home and something doesn't work, you're like, okay, who's available? Who's on what day? And, and one of the things I love when the kids see us struggling, they know, oh, it's okay. Miss Brown got through it. And so it makes it, if you laugh about it after the fact, but when you're going through it, you're like, I did this 100 times. Why is it not working this time? What did I do wrong? And sometimes the technology just doesn't work or doesn't function as it should for whatever reasons. And we make the best of it and keep going. So,
yeah, I love how we're all like so human with each other now, like we're all seeing each other's homes and, the fact that like your students saw you not able to, like the technology wasn't working for you and they saw you handle it. And then we're just all like real people, and I feel like we're allowing ourselves to be real with each other more than before.
I think we have to, because one of the things that, the research is showing, and we went through this in our staff meeting, is that this interaction with our kids could, for some students, be very isolating. So what can we do to overcome that isolation? And it's some of the same things that we do in the classroom every day. Welcome everyone, use everyone's first name. And one of the things I think is very interesting is sharing personal stories. That's one of the things that the research showed. And I'm like, well, as a teacher, I try to share stories when I was a kid. And I'm like, okay, what happened? And I actually shared a story of when, because one of the young ladies, her name is Kimberly. And one day we were just emailing each other. And I said, you know, Kimberly, I love your name and I love you. And do you know my very first best friend in my whole life was named Kimberly? And
Oh.
we both had matching tricycles. And so ever since then, and that was on a private email chat because she had emailed me about something. Now she will speak more. We're more engaged. So sharing personal stories based on the research I will do, but I have to be very careful to share stories that are appropriate for young
Right.
people. So my friend Kimberly and I went to kindergarten together. And it's we're not as close now, but her younger sister and I, Brenda, are best friends to this day. And but sharing that little piece, and now she'll get out, Miss Brown, I like your hair, just
Oh.
little things
Yeah.
that. So I always try to be positive. And my assistants, I have two media assistants, they'll come on class with me and they'll bring their pets.
Oh, cute.
And that's so nice. That kind of breaks the ice. And then I say, well, I love Zumba. And the kids are like, oh, I like Zumba. And Oscar, he plays soccer. I'm like, Oscar, I couldn't play soccer if I tried. So I would trip over the ball. So, reeling in what they really care about and what they like is so important. And incorporating that into the lessons every day is essential.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a closeness there, even though we're not physically close. Like there is, I'm so glad that you found a way to be close.
Well, in the real classroom setting, I would go to a soccer game or I would show up at a basketball game. I chaperone. So this allows us to do those kind of things. It's not the same, but when you show up as a teacher and you're rooting for your kids, it really means something to our students. And I've done that. I've gone to concerts, I've gone to plays. All of us do that, and we support our students in that way. And now that those things are not available, we really have to create those times when we talk about those things and celebrate this great talent that our students have.
Yeah. How have you shifted library services to support students?
That has been a big shift. The biggest shift we did first over the summer was buy more ebooks. And I really struggled with that because I'm a traditional career librarian. I love the brick and mortar. I love the real books that you can touch and feel. And so do our students. So even before COVID hit, we did have books and ebooks. And I just found my kids just love the traditional books more. So what we have done is really switch to a more ebook component, and we offer ebooks in 3 different ways to give our kids as much exposure as well. And then if we include our public library system, that's 4 ways that our students can access books. And so I've visited these last 3 weeks. I've visited 20 classrooms. I've done the PTSA. I do a weekly newsletter for our teachers to let them know, and I'm now doing instructional videos and posting them so teachers, students, and parents know how to use our resources. But also, because I am such a traditional book person and I have such a wonderful staff, because we cannot be in the building at the same time. So there's 3 of us, so we take turns coming in. We, with the permission of our principal, and because we are a food distribution location, we actually offer curbside book exchange twice a month for our students. And we offer it on Wednesday, the day that the kids have study hall, because we don't want to compete with online classes.
Right.
And so we take turns pulling the books and everything. We've really done a lot of PR to let our teachers and our students and our parents know how to do that. And we're getting more and more kids to check out books. Their parents are bringing them by. And They just call us. We have all the specific instructions. And I tell them, we provide curbside service. So, and it's really been wonderful. And now that more parents know about it, I am super excited because I want them to check out as many books as they want when
Yeah,
we hit our winter break.
that's so great. And it's so nice to just see people for a second, right? You can like wave at them a little bit. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Some
really
of
cool.
some of my former book club members are like, Miss Brown, Miss Brown. So given them books, and we're going to meet online to do an online book club. And it's always great to get an email from a student that you know, and even students that you don't know that you look forward to meeting in the future.
Yeah. Oh, that's really wonderful. Um, how has the pandemic been for you as an educator? I mean, you're such a wonderful, you're so wonderful, and I feel like you like when we talked, I think maybe a couple years ago, you were doing so many wonderful things, and this has just been such a disruption to everything, and it seems like you're managing it really well. But just for you, like, how has this been, personally and professionally?
Personally, I think it's been difficult. I've lost several family members due to the pandemic. And so that's been very difficult. And I have family members who are close to me who are extremely high risk.
Mm.
So it's been very tense. We've taken trips to the hospital, we've had emergency issues. And so, on a personal level, it's been difficult. Now, professionally, I think the most difficult thing is sitting all day
Mm.
in front of a computer. There have been times I wanted to take the MCPS Chromebook and throw it out the window, which I have not done because I'm used to being with kids. I'm a librarian. I'm used to moving and interacting with people and shelving books. And as educators, it's a very physical job,
Yeah.
and so it was very difficult to just sit and be on a computer. And a lot of times when we do trainings in a group. We have a leader, and if you have a question, hey, did you miss that? And so doing it all online or watching a video, I was able to do it, and we've made those changes, but it was difficult. This because even just as I said that the students feel isolated, teaching is isolating when we're in the building because we have so much content. But as a media specialist, I interact with so many people. So I felt so isolated myself
Yeah.
and felt disconnected. And there were days when I struggled with the technology. And I have to say, there's so much technology. Sometimes I'm like, hey, where is it? I had to really overcome feeling incompetent.
Yeah.
It's like, I know I can do this job. I've done it for a long time, but it's just so many changes at once. And our roles have changed. And you want to be there for the kids, and you're trying to learn the technology. You have connectivity problems. One day, I couldn't even get on the system for whatever reason. My password stopped working. It took me 2 hours just to call the help desk. I guess it was happening to a lot of people, and just get back online. So, and see, when that happens in the school, you can teach another way. You have alternatives. But if you're at home and you only have a Chromebook and your system crashes, you go into panic mode because you're trying to get back online to make sure you're there to help people. Thankfully, it wasn't a day I was meeting with students. So professionally, it's been challenging because we want to be successful for our kids.
Yeah.
We want to be there, and when you feel like you're not there, you feel like, is there anything else I can do? And you can only do what you can do. But I every day I get back up and I give it 100% the very next day, and the kids keep coming.
Yeah.
So that's what we want. They keep coming, and I think they want to be here. I think everyone wants to be in the building. It's just that, but everyone's, we're doing a survey right now, and it's still split. It's like a third of people are like, I want to come back partially. A third are like, no, I don't want to come back at all. And a third, because we have it on our website in Montgomery County Public Schools, a third are still undecided.
Yeah.
And it's because the rates of COVID just keep shifting. And that's why it's so hard to make a decision. And that's why it's so hard to feel comfortable,
Right.
because it's an ever changing landscape.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And everybody's perspective is so valid. Like, I mean, there's so many issues to weigh and consider, and everyone's health and safety and mental well-being are so important.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I do not envy the decision makers in these situations.
It's very difficult.
Yeah. I just have to say thank you so much for sharing. I'm so honored that we get to share your experience with other people, and I know that they'll find wonderful inspiration in a lot of the things that you've shared. I have one last question. What is your vision for library media services at Wheaton High School, going into the future, post pandemic? Everyone's back in the building, or not, or however it looks. But where do we go from here, basically?
That is an excellent question, and that is one that we struggle with because pre-pandemic, during our open times, kids could come in and out as they wanted. We did always ask the students to do a check-in just because of emergency procedures. But now we will probably institute that as well. And depending upon COVID, we're not quite sure how many students will be in the library. Because of social distancing, we're not sure if the school district is going to use the libraries as a classroom, which has been done before here at Wheaton due to when we were going under construction, there were certain parts of the building that weren't finished. So for 1 year, we served as a classroom, and during the open times, being before school, during lunch and after school, we were a library, and people could come in and out. So it really depends. I think as a media specialist, some of the things that we're talking about is having kids continue to place things on hold through Destiny, and we deliver it to the classroom. Because the system has not decided yet if we're going to have teachers rotate or students rotate, because it's in the hallways where and even though we have large and wide hallways, it depends on how many students they bring back. And I think they're only going to bring back half the students at a time. So I envision us doing a classroom book exchange. So the students can, because our online database has everything, our online catalog. So students can still choose what they want, and we would deliver it to them. Just because if we allow them to browse the books, I'm not quite sure if that would be a super spreader.
Right.
Because, and usually I would never think about a kid walking through a library, touching books, looking at them. That's what we want them to do.
Right.
And even if a child has on their mask, touching books and things like that may or may not be conducive to the health of our schools. So right now, that's when we come back, that's how I envision it. I don't mind, and I'm not quite sure how many students we will allow in the library to maintain social distancing.
Yeah.
So a lot of that will depend on how our school system makes that decision, but I see it as limiting our number of students at a time. I'm not quite sure how we decide who comes in and who doesn't.
Yeah.
I can't even process that right now.
Yeah.
But I would definitely, I think they'll give us a limit of how many kids will come in, but we will do our best to service the kids. And definitely, if we can bring it outside, I don't have a problem going to the third floor and delivering the books to the kids. So that's what I see. And as COVID becomes under control, we will slowly, hopefully, return to normal. But I don't think it's going to be right away. I think it's going to be some time.
Yeah.
That's how I envision going forward, taking the books to the kids and still relying heavily on our computer systems, but buying more traditional books than ebooks perhaps. And we do put all of our books in quarantine. So we've expanded we've expanded how long the kids can have the books. We've never charged overdue fees or anything like that here at Wheaton, and just working with the kids and making sure that they get what they need.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Laura, thank you so much for sharing everything today, and wishing you all the best. And I can't wait to check in again later and hear how things are going. But thank you.
You're welcome. And I just want to say that I'm a long-term Demco customer, and I'm looking at what you all have designed for PPE because we have a circular circulation desk versus a rectangular or square. So I
Yeah.
want to say that Demco has always supported libraries and being innovative of what we're going through right now. And I really appreciate that. Haven't placed an order yet because I don't know what to do. So once the county decides, I'll be able to do that. And I thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Laura.